What is going on, Jerome's? Had a nice little break after the wrap-up of the NFL draft, so now we're back doing UDFAs. What did I do in those 3 hours? Traveled the world. Great. But the Vikings signed 15 UDFAs to pair up with their six-person draft class, and they'll put the Vikings roster at about 88 names. Now, you may be saying, what are they going to do with those extra 2 roster spots? Well, rookie minicamp is coming up, and there's going to be a ton of UDFA tryouts. A couple of those guys will probably get offered spots on the 90-man, so they're making room for that. And remember, don't sleep on UDFA tryouts, because you know who was a UDFA tryout? Adam Thielen, CJ Ham, Marcus Sherrill. So doesn't matter where you start, it's where you finish. And chances are, you could be like, oh, these guys didn't get drafted. They mean nothing. Please. This may be the most talented UDFA class I've seen in a while, because the Vikings got a handful of players like Andre Carter, Ivan Pace Jr., where if Carter was drafted day 2, I don't think anyone freaks out. If Pace was drafted in the 4th round, I don't think anyone bats an eye either. So there's some really talented players in this UDFA class, and I'm pretty pumped about it. Plus, I would say that Carter and Pace have a really good chance to roster. All right, starting up at the top, Andre Carter II, coming out of Army, 6'6", actually closer to 6'7", 256, and he had a bust-out season in 2021, 14.5 sacks, 59 pressures, a little bit less in 2022 as teams sold out to stop him. Did not test the greatest. But overall was very surprised that he ended up a UDFA. Now, I don't think that his Army commitment has anything to do with that. They did revise some of the rules, so he would be able to get a deferment. But, I mean, Carter, he's got a lot of talent. And, you know, the knock against him is there's concern about bend around the edge, but I do think that Carter obviously can get to the quarterback and obviously warrants a 90-man roster spot. So I think he's going to come in and compete with Luigi Villain on the back end of the rooster and see what happens there. Ivan Pace Jr., I love Ivan Pace Jr., man. Like, he is all heart, he is all hustle, he is a spark plug, he is an energizer buddy. He can do things that are fantastic, man. He's 5'10", 231. That's exactly why he didn't get drafted, but did run a 4.6 240, can fly around, was originally at Miami, Ohio, and then transferred to Cincinnati for 2022, and he was the straw that stirred the drink for the Bearcats defense. 136 tackles, 20.5 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 55 pressures, 93.2 PFF grade. I'm going to say this. He's going to become a fan favorite. He plays every single down like it's his last. He plays every single play like it's the Alamo. I love him, and Vikings fans are going to too. And he's, at minimum, like this year, he's going to be a special team standout. And 100% he makes the 53-man roster. And I would say by 2024, it's going to be Pace Jr. and Asamoah as your 2 starting off-ball linebackers. Both undersized, yes, but can fly around, can cover, and Pace can certainly blitz and get after the quarterback's ass. I think he may get some sub-package work. I think Flores is going to like him a lot, man. Next up, Cephas Johnson III. So super interesting. So Cephas Johnson III was quarterback at Southeast Louisiana, 6'5", 220. Huge, gigantic, man. So he played quarterback at Southeast Louisiana as well as Southern Alabama. Last year, he completed 64.5% of his passes, 1,527 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 6 picks. So pedestrian, but also ran for 611 yards and 8 touchdowns. And listed as a wide receiver. So is this going to be a Taysom Hill type situation? Is Kevin O'Connell going to get creative? Are they going to use Cephas as like the rugby quarterback sneak push type spot? So I'm really intrigued, man. Like, I want to see what happens. Obviously, the Vikings have 3 quarterbacks right now with Kirk and Mullins and our guy Jaron Hall. But I mean, super interesting. I love it, man. Also, wide receiver Malik Knowles. I think he's underrated coming out of Kansas State, 6'2", $196. He was first team all Big 12 in 2021. Second team last year where he put up 48 catches, 725 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Decent size. Doesn't really have the explosiveness or suddenness that you're looking for. One of the reasons why he went undrafted. But also, he's a really good kick returner. He just has this extra sense and gear about him, but 3 career kick returns for touchdowns. And I mean, I don't know, Vikings have done well with Big 12 kick returners, I guess. So there you go. And then you got Thayer Thomas. So Thayer Thomas is super amazing, man. So NC State, 5 years somewhere. Garrett Bradbury is smiling. 6 foot, a buck 98. Former walk-on, but put up monster numbers. Career 215 catches, 2,484 yards receiving, 24 touchdowns, which is second all-time in school history behind only Torrey Holt. Worked from the slot mainly, as well as is a dynamic punt returner. Averaged 9.7 yards per punt return on 70 career returns, as well as took one to the house a couple years ago. So he's the name to watch. I think that, Brandon Powell is probably going to have the inside track to be the punt returner, but I wouldn't rule out Thomas. I think he's going to make things very interesting. At minimum practice squad, maybe even more. Tight end Ben Sims coming out of Baylor, 6'4", 250, blocker. Fantastic run blocker. They'd actually line him up all over the place just to tax that ass in the run game. But also decent receiver. Doesn't have great separation for a tight end, but 78 catches, 785 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns over his career, including 6 in one season 2 years ago. Offensive line, 2 of them. Alan Ali from TCU, 6'4", 301, came in and was on the national champion participating TCU Horned Frogs. Played mainly center throughout his career, a little bit of left guard, a little bit of left tackle as well. SMU, and then transferred to TCU last season. Started for the Horned Frogs, 69.6 PFF pass blocking grade, 24 pressures and 2 sacks. Now, he did not fare well against Georgia, but then again, no one fared well against Georgia. But interesting, a guy at high-level starting experience last year coming in as a UDFA center. Jackie Chen, so I got to say, Mama, we did it. I finally made the NFL. We're getting after it, man. But yes, that's actually his name, and that's actually him. 6'6", 310. He went to Pace University. Now, I'll give you 2 seconds to think about where Pace is. Pace is in Lower Manhattan. Pace is like downtown New York, man. The stadium is all the way up in Chappaqua, which is kind of hilarious, man. I know nothing about him. There's not really much literature on Jackie Chen from Pace. He did start 28 career games for the Pace Setters. So there you go. But Mama, we made it. I'm rooting for him for obvious reasons. And then you got some size on the defensive line. Calvin Avery from Illinois coming in, 6'1", 343, space eater. He's exactly what I wanted. A guy who's going to absorb bodies. He's going to 2-gap, all that stuff. He's going to be a 2-down player if he makes the roster, but also I don't care. But intriguingly enough, he put up 15 pressures last year, and he wasn't playing in a lot of passing down situations for the Illini. So, interesting. 2 linebackers added to 2 linebackers on top of Ivan Pace Jr. So, Abraham Beauplan coming out of Marshall, 6'2", 223. In 2021, 110 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 80.0 PFF grade. Slid in the draft, went undrafted, but relatively solid in coverage. Could be a name to watch. Also, Cincy, sticking with the Bearcats. So Ivan Pace Jr.'s running mate at linebacker, teammate Wilson Huber, 6'4", 241, 54 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack last year. Started his career as a tight end, switched over to the other side of the ball, played a little linebacker. 3 UDFA cornerbacks, Najee Thompson coming out of Georgia Southern, alma mater of Jerick McKinnon, our guy, 5'11", 205. Last year, 37 tackles, 11 passes broken up. Basically was a 1-year starter, and now is coming into the league. CJ Colden, coming out of Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner, 5'11", a buck 79. Initially played his college ball at Wyoming, transferred to Oklahoma last year under Venables. 42 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 6 passes broken up, so does have some decent ball skills. And the Vikings quarterback room right now, it's pretty damn good, but obviously there's always room on the practice squad. Jalen Williams coming out of Indiana, 5'9", a buck 84, 4.45 speed, smallish but strong, 152 career tackles, 6 career interceptions, 24 passes broken up over his 5-year career in Bloomington. And then lastly, what is it about us and Georgia kickers? We just can't escape it. But Jack Podlesny, nailed it. 6 foot, a buck 94. Career 82.4% on his field goals. Obviously played some big games over the last couple of years with the Bulldogs, but did miss 2 kicks against Ohio State last year in the semis. Not a power kicker, not a major big time leg like Greg Joseph, but just like they've done in the last couple of years, bring in a little competition. No muss, no fuss, never hurt anyone, and then we'll see. But overall, This is probably one of the better UDFA classes I've seen. I mean, Carter, like we said, if he went day 2, I don't think anyone complains. Pace, if he went at the top of day 3, I don't think anyone bats an eye. So, super talented class. I would keep an eye out for Carter, Pace. I do like Cepheus, how the hell they're going to use him. Knowles is interesting. Thayer Thomas is interesting, as well as Jackie Chen. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings signed 15 UDFAs. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.